you know, or I was thinking of also getting together a post of a bunch of different like people that newbies, the kind of newbies that I want on would fast track them to like actually having a good Minds experience instead of just wading through conservative memes, being like, well, what the fuck is this? You know?
Yeah, I'm on and also give them 20 tokens so that they can go pro and turn off the ads if they want to, because the initial experience of being bombarded with everybody's boosts can be like really just demoralizing.
Yeah, like I'm sure like the first, you know, if you come out to Minds and like within the first 5 minutes you're looking at like neo-Nazi propaganda, you know, your experience is going to be it's going to be colored.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, you know,
the first thing I ever clicked on was a Holocaust denier video.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, sure.
That was your first experience. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know what? It is interesting because I was never exposed to that kind of stuff. So now that I know their patterns and you know what their values are, it all goes back to the Jews always. It doesn't even matter what they're saying. I really feel everything is just a way to like fit in like Jewish people. That's how I see it. Like these people, man.
I was sort of emboldened by it because I think maybe a few years earlier I had done research into like the Rothschild banking legacies and like done all this conspiracy work. So I was like, oh, here's a group of people who are at least like doing the research I was doing years ago. I'm bored of it now. It's like old news.
Yeah, yeah.
It doesn't even matter anymore, you know, like whatever the conspiracies of, 50 years ago, it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
You know, it was funny before you came on. I was talking a little bit about this, and I was lucky to get introduced to Robert Anton Wilson at a critical point in my development of my own like thoughts or whatever. He has he has a lot of great like little things that he talks about, and then one of them is there is a conspiracy to control the whole world. It's just you and your friends. Kind of like, you know. And then Douglas Rushkoff talks about this. He says, if you go to the root word of conspire, it just means breathing together. And like when people like come together, it's like a different strand of like communing. I've been really liking using that word communing with each other, like of being in a space. Like right now we're kind of like in a disembodied space right now, but it's something different than like being on a social media site, right? It's such a kind of like binary input output exchange. You post something and then you kind of like wait, or then you consume something, and it's just that. But then, you know, as we push these gatherings and push this kind of interaction, and what we did in the poetry group, I think was really cool. And I think only the beginning, but like right now, right here, we're communing with each other. We're here. There's, you know, this like real time feedback, and every time, even especially early on when I was doing the Infinite Imaginarium, it's like we didn't even give a shit what was going on the site. Like it just mattered what we were thinking and what we were like excited about, and what we saw that what we could do, and you know that has died, and I think now it's like this new thing that's happening,
resurrected.
That I'm like, yeah, it's just taking on a different form, a metamorphosis.
I think gatherings is going to be very important to make it feel like getting away from the input output feeling of it. It just refreshes it all. And you know, before over the holidays in like January, I wasn't really into Minds. Like I didn't. I kind of felt guilty that I hadn't been spending more time here, and I was working on my movie and everything like that. But as soon as I did one gathering, and I did a gathering, I think with the Open Gathering Group, and I think it was Rush of Waves, Chris Dogood, and Paw Patrol, and K-Bug was there. And we were just talking, and it just made it feel so much more human, that it hooked me back in. That when Brett said to me, like, why don't we do a poetry gathering, I said, well, I guess I am the guy to, you know, host that. All right, let's do it. And then once that happened, I really got reinvested because it just felt like something, you know, all of a sudden the input output feels differently once you have a kind of real time, real communication like this. So yeah, I'm actually very excited where it goes. And I think what you're doing, Satori, Curry, did you see what Satori did with the poem readings, the open mic readings?
Yeah, I checked out. There's a video of him like spitting some mad flavor.
Yeah,
yeah, that was cool.
It's so great. And the Satori, you have such a great sense of tone and figuring out what to collage with it to make it work and to bring it out what it is. So it was really great to see, and I think that kind of thing is probably the future. And you don't even need, it doesn't need, the thing is, it doesn't need to be everybody doing that. In fact, it's just like a small group of people doing that, but it's enough to have a community, like to feel like there's something more going on than just this input output, loosely networked thoughts and posts.
And even, you know, it's kind of interesting to see like the feedback, because like it was saying like, oh, it's kind of cool to like re-experience this. And I was like, you know, it's interesting just with me in the process of making the edit. It's kind of like I'm trying to get into the speakers and the words headspace, trying to like just honor that. And like I said, sometimes it could be tricky, but then sometimes it just happens. Like, you know, just so happens that you don't spend that much time and you find a somewhat all right track, and then you just slightly edit it to make it fit. Maybe you cut up the breakdown or the loop a little longer just to make it fit right. And you know, it's kind of interesting just to do it, because then I feel like this is what I was thinking. Like, I think everybody so far online's. I mean, there's the initial expression. You see people's like feed, or you even get a feel of their image or whatever. You know, you see it passively. You just see maybe they post a lot of memes or whatever it is, and you have this like initial reaction, like, oh, maybe they won't like this, or maybe I'm putting too much of my own thing. But then when you talk to them, and then when you're there and listening to everybody kind of like say similar things but with their own unique perspective of it, and then when we talk about it, and then I feel a little bit like more okay. It's like, okay, I'm pretty sure, like I'm trying not to think about it, but just more like just feel, and then like try to like bring out that like my own inner feeling of that poem, my own inner thing, and just like suddenly putting it out there, because I want people. I think it adds another layer, but also too, I want to like get more people in there, because I think as we were doing that reading and then discussing it, and it was really cool to have censorship sucks, because he was really pushing about like critiquing, but just discussion. And he was really inquisitive about like, okay, what about, why did you use that word? Why did you do that word? Because a lot of times, you know, it depends how your state of mind is. But for a lot of people that are like me, I kind of like put it out there, and sometimes I don't feel so critical. Like, I don't know what that means. I just kind of did it. It just is. But then it forces you. It kind of like forces you, because I was really thinking about Brett's poem and really thinking about how he wrote it so elegantly. I'm like, dude, I need to like step up my game. But you know, just like I think the more you get exposed and the more you get that feedback, is the more you're like, okay, I could step up my game more. I could try to do different things, and you know,
as a poet, like yourself.
Yeah, as a poet, as even editing, Even using different songs that I may not use for my own poetry, but it fits for that song, and thinking of it not as my perspective, but trying to like honor the perspective or the feeling that's in there, but also too, getting influenced by what we said and what you said about, the last one I did of what is it? Love's what is it? Netizen X's. I forgot the last one I did. But anyways, there's this subtle kind of like beauty. Like maybe if you, depending on your own mind state, you can read it as like this kind of like breakup poem of like woe is me, like fucking emo shit, or dark a little bit. But then there was like this sudden like subtle power to it, and that we talked about later. And I think that the song that I picked, or the song that I tried to fit in there, tried to honor that portion of what we talked about later of interpreting it. And even his performance of it wasn't necessarily like, oh fuck this bitch. It was more like, this happened and this was, beautifully painful experience, but it's still this other side of beauty that we don't honor as much sometimes.
Yeah, when you have to engage someone else's work in order to do what you're doing, and you're re-entering and you're honoring, it's a process that you're going through in order to discover what the poem's really about. But then when you put out something like that, us as viewers get that. So you're doing it for us, but we're also getting that as well, so we can re-enter as well. And that's the whole beauty of like, or just taking it, like expanding it to like reminding with a little bit of an introduction, and say, this is what I was thinking when doing it. And in order to even articulate what you were thinking, you have to re-engage it. And it doesn't even have to be perfect. A lot of times it's like this ineffable thing, like, you don't necessarily think to articulate, like what you were saying with censorship sucks. He would ask, oh, why did you choose this? Why did you choose that? Well, the answer is, I don't know. It felt good. And when you're writing something or when you're doing something, you're not trying to articulate it for someone. You're just doing it. And you just know subconsciously, this is a good move. It means something. And I don't know quite what yet. And it doesn't even matter what, that it doesn't know. You can get into trouble like that, because you can, it turns into like a muddy mass. So it's good to kind of re-examine yourself and also others, I guess. But it's good to articulate these kind of, or try to articulate these ineffable things only if it inspires other people to re-engage with the material, and not necessarily to resolve it and to say like, oh, this is understandable for these reasons.
Yeah, I dig what you guys are saying. It's like there's this balance between the work speaking for itself and you trying to keep it to its essentialness. And then there's also this, like, every day I feel differently about a particular piece of work. And if I introduce it to somebody on that day, I'm going to have a different perspective than the next day.
Yeah.
And I want to bring that into the conversation to keep it alive.
Yeah, for sure. And and you can kill it by saying, oh, it's this, and it will always be this, no matter the day, no matter the perspective. Yeah.
But that goes back to Curry's animated GIFs. Like, depending on what music you're listening to or how you're like surfing that day and you come across it, like it could read differently. We were talking about that, about like. And that's why that's why the Russia Wave one happened so perfectly. It was short, and I don't even know how I picked that song, but it just like that song just was like, kind of something, because I'm always like hunting down these Creative Commons beat tapes. And that's why I kind of go to that WoW a lot, because I know there's Creative Commons, and then it's just like this resource that I go to. And but it always seems like I always find something that works, and it just like happens. And I think that was like a new one that got released on this channel that I follow. And I was like, oh, this kind of like I like how this feels. They're like, okay, and then I'm gonna put Russia Wave, and then when I'm thinking about it, like, what should I do? And then I go to his page, and then that's like the first thing that I see is that the bonfire on the beach. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. This is perfect for it. And then I was like, okay, let me just like subtly zoom into it. And I didn't really do much with the visuals, but it worked so perfect with it. And then I was like, okay, then I'm gonna like superimpose his image on it. But like, if more people, I think later, hopefully the visuals become easier as people even unconsciously start expressing on their channel more and differently, that I could just kind of like rip from their channel to like kind of imprint their own style into the visuals. I think would be interesting too.
Yeah, and I like that we're getting, you know, just we're doing this gathering, and we all get to, you know, say our piece and everything like that, and meet each other, and new people always come in, and that's always great. And then after you doing this, well, just posting the live stream, but then you also cutting up things, I think gets more people thinking or feeling like this is a valuable thing that's exciting and to come together and participate in. Did anybody see the Yao, I think his name is, commented that it was a waste of time?
I didn't see
you
that.
see that comment? I've been thinking about that comment actually, because I didn't know how to respond or what to say.
What was the waste of time? The
live stream.
Oh.
And you know, Yao's not just like a random person. Like I've read his work and stuff, and he's an interesting dude. So I was like, man, feels bad. feels bad, but I mean, I can see it, and maybe it's a thing where he wishes he was part of it, and you know, now that he's on the outside, he sees like that it's not worth it and stuff like that. Maybe that's it. But
that phrase has been in my head a little bit lately. Of like, we say it a lot, like a waste of time, a waste of effort. But I think like deep down we know that there's no such thing.
Yeah. Or maybe, you know, there's, you can say, oh, they're just trying to like get followers, or they're trying to like be famous on Minds or something like that. And, you know, there's no actual value for anybody.
But, you know, that's something interesting, because there was a different comment, and I don't know who it was, but I reposted something. I think it was what Brett said about the secret behind the Minds token. No. It was what this is not a loop. He talks about his own experience with Minds, and it feels like when he was on the internet back in the beginning of his first time coming on the internet, and new ideas and new people, weird, strange things, and kind of this similar thing that a lot of us express. And then he has it like a GIF, and then so I reminded it, and then someone said, "That's not true." It's like Minds, referring to Minds, is like it's just recycled Reddit memes and the style of Facebook PHP. That's all it is, and it's social media is not worth it, and something like that. I'm like, okay, and you know, like, it's funny how those criticisms stick in your mind more than all the other like feedback. And then, but it's good. It's good to acknowledge that, to be like just with yourself, but also to with the outer self, being critical of yourself, being critical of your own work, but not into the point where it stops you from doing anything, and vice versa of being too overly positive, where you're not getting down into the nitty gritty of your own expression.
Right. It like keeps the criticism keeps you real, you know, of saying like, you know, this isn't just given that it has value. You know, we have to, there is work to be done. You know, but then there's also other people who like, they just seem to be on Minds in order to tear it down. Like that's the only reason why they're here. In order to just denigrate everybody's effort and to call everybody fools. And then, you know, but then other people are really working through like some serious, like Dream Eater is like seriously working through like what the ego means and what social media means to him, and that he's thinking about the addictive qualities to it, and and how it's there is some sort of core of validation that it's kind of uses as an engine, and that this can be unhealthy. And I think that's a valuable thing to think about for sure. And engage with.
It seems like you and Dream Eater are better with each other now. Is that?
I don't even think we were ever not cool. I think he was aggressive with me right off the bat. And
I was actually thinking about that because you reposted something of his and my own interactions with Dream Eater. Like, me and him are cool. I've had him on the Infinite Imaginarium. We talked on Slack, and then there was like some bullshit that happened, but I'm not gonna get into that.
Wait, but he was on Slack.
Yeah, he still has a Slack. He's still in the Slack. He just doesn't use it. There's drama, not between me and him, but him and some other Infinite Imaginarium user, and it was like this whole thing.
He seems like quite the individual. He's like he's a lone wolf, and he is a wolf.
Yeah, and so anytime there's, and it's not even bad. I don't even care, but it's just like I just get bored with it, and I simply just tell everybody like, I don't give a fuck. Like, if you guys don't like each other, that's fine. I'm cool with you. I'm cool with them. Like, just leave me out of it.
The drama is.
But so like me and Dream Eater have like a interesting engagement. Like he's definitely like, I mean, and I'm all about it too. I'm more plugged in than he is, but we have great conversations. And so like when he came back, it was during the time too when you said that you're getting harassed by Dream Eater, and I just kind of like start laughing to myself. And so he actually messaged me and said, "Hey, what's the deal with that Mac guy? It's like that fucking song thing was weird." And then I just laugh. I don't say anything.
Song thing? What song?
The reading from that thing.
Matt Singer.
Yeah, Matt Singer. There you go.
Oh yeah.
That was what was great about it.
Yeah, it like freaked him out. It's like, what the fuck is he trying to do? And this and that. And I'm like, I just
like break or something.
Yeah,
it's like
that is. And so
actually, that's enough.
He directly messaged me, and he kind of like complains about you, and it's like, I think he said something that you're like a poser or something, and I just laugh. I don't really engage with that, and then I'm like, hey, at any rate, like, how's life for you, and this and that, and then so we talk about like what's going on with him, and then later he's like, so are you making any money off of fucking mines? And so like, I'm giving the tone to it, but that's how I was reading it, and I just start laughing again. I was like, well, that's not the point of what I'm doing. It's like the process, and then I just kind of like say, I'm having fun doing this, or I'm having fun doing that. It's like, and then he laughs, and he's like, yeah, I get what you mean. But it's kind of funny, like he has he's like a psychic troll. So like he's like, and then like that's a little bit of his like mission, and I just laugh when he does it to me, and I kind of like I was like, I just laugh.
Yeah, he's poking you. He's like,
yeah, I'm like, dude, drop the act. I don't give a fuck. Like, if you want to talk about like something real, let's do it, or not. Like, you don't need to poke me. And then it's funny because then he laughs and it says like, oh yeah, I know what you mean.
I've had great conversations with him, and I've been in the troll seat myself in other communities, because what I hate the most is I understand it. I hate the whole jockeying for social position and the lack of engagement, like with like something that's like with something real and everything. But I mean, all I want is engagement. Like I just want to get into really good conversation with somebody, or, that's kind of what I'm after. So that's why we get along if we do now. Curry, do you ever, I feel like you're above the trolls. Like the trolls don't come after you.
Yeah, I haven't experienced much troll behavior. I see it on other people's channels more. I had one guy, like, I said something about mines, and he posted it. He said mines is evil, and then so I responded with a drawing of a light bulb with like evil eyes and teeth and like the exaggeration of what he was saying. So I feel like if you agree with the trolls and like even like take whatever their opinion they're expressing, you take it a step further. That's sort of a fun way to manage it.
Yeah, and to interact with them before you know it, like they're actually engaging with you in a very serious way, because you're engaging with them, and something good can come out of it.
I think you can trump text with images. So if somebody comes after you with like a paragraph of anger, you can just like post a drawing and like abolish it.
Yeah, that's a superpower of yours for sure.
Yeah.
It's a bit like jujitsu, actually. Like the more aggressive somebody is, the easier it is to like spin them into a chokehold or something.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the attraction I had with trolling myself on Reddit, is that it kind of sharpened me to really to manage negative reactions, and there is a kind of fighting quality to it, like and you do jujitsu. You do that.
Yeah, just say jitsu, but with a stutter. It's like jujitsu.
Jujitsu.
Yeah, I do it. I used to wrestle for years and years, and then in the last couple of years, I have like a few buddies who every week we get together and try to break each other's limbs and shit. That's
awesome, man. Yeah. I need something like that. I feel like I have a lot of aggression that could be taken care of that way.
Shit, I mean, I'm sure Toronto's got a whole bunch of jiu-jitsu gyms.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm just poor as fuck. That's my problem.
Dude, I hear you. I gotta take my car to the mechanic, and I'm like, I don't even know how I'm gonna pay for this brake job, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
Do you take payments in drawings?
Yeah, exactly.
But okay, kind of like pushing the conversation in a different direction. I think that this near future where we can push minds in some near future is like, I don't think there's any reason why, this is the beauty of this like minds token, but the whole kind of crypto world, or the promise of the crypto world, is that we could put value on different things and kind of like quantify it and then exchange it in like a marketplace of our own creation. So there can be a way where hopefully Curryhobo can trade or pay for things with his drawings, and us with our creative work, that we could have this exchange of our skill and creativity to kind of like broaden our resources in whatever way that is.
They're adding more crypto options to the wires.
Oh yeah, that's big right there.
That's on the roadmap.
In the roadmap? Oh, okay.
On the roadmap. Yeah.
Yeah, that's essential.
That should be really interesting. That's really going to make it seem like a crypto social network, I think.
Yeah.
And for me, when they were first doing the whole token thing, and so they announced it, and we were on the test net. And for me, the most, after I read the white paper and then like played around with the wiring system, I was like, oh, this is just kind of like points, and they're not live yet. But what got me more excited was MetaMask, and how that was like this wallet. And I was like, dude, they just need, like, we need to broaden this out, or just have a simple function where we could trade Ether or whatever, different currencies, whatever it is, with each other. Like, that's one thing that's even though Steemit is like a zombie area, a zombie apocalypse of just bots roaming around, but they have their exchange where you could use the Steem token and Steem dollars and trade them for Ether, a Litecoin, Bitcoin. There's all sorts of different ones that they use, but that's like so simple but intriguing of how we could use that in different ways, and more meaningful ways. I think we're already doing it in a small little sample size of what we were doing in the Minds Poetry thing. tipping people as they were kind of like did their performances, and I think
Yeah.
this is like to kind of help. I'm really trying to do it every time I find something that I really like, and just get in the habit of transferring them 3 tokens. I like playing with the number 3, power 3, and all my weird shit that I do. So I just like three coins.
Do you have a pretty big token supply?
Yeah, I do kind of. Satorid is pretty good. I won some contests early on, so then I had like that I never really used, and I do reasonable on my daily. It just depends how much active I am. But yeah, I mean, then Infinite Imaginarium is all right. But I also have my underground mines that, if need be, I could do my little voodoo.
What about you, Curry? You have a lot of tokens?
No, man. I'm like just going day by day. Like I think I don't know. Like people wire me sort of unexpectedly sometimes, so I'll just be like, I'll go from 0 tokens to like 30 and be like, okay, cool. I sent a video to the musical introvert, and then she sent me back a little musical sample. So I gave her like all the tokens I had today. But then like
awesome.
2 minutes later, somebody sent me 10 tokens on chain, which is cool. I never got on chain transferred before, so.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have to have some Ethereum to use that.
Yeah.
Man.
So the token thing is cool. Like it sets up the infrastructure, but I think once we get some multiple different currencies and it's like becomes easier to exchange them, then the whole thing opens up. I think that's going to be the catalyst for a lot of the economy opening.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking of, one of the functions of the prompt is to get tokens out there. And I was thinking, what would be the difference doing on-chain, saying the prize is like 100 on-chain tokens. And all of a sudden, if somebody gets on-chain tokens that they've never gotten before, then in order to use those tokens, they have to figure out how to use a cryptocurrency, how to buy Ethereum in order, like even like $5 worth of Ethereum in order to use the token. And that's enough to get people into the ecosystem, or even just to like be aware.
I talked to Bill, and he said they're considering changing the on-chain, off-chain system because he's just like, a lot of people are confused by it.
Yeah, I can see that. And a lot of people, you don't want on-chain because you do have to spend like, I don't know, like 5 to 10 cents in order to spend.
Right. Unless you're transferring thousands of tokens.
What's that?
Unless you're transferring thousands of tokens, it doesn't make sense.
Right. Yeah, and that's the whole problem with blockchain to begin with, is these on microtransactions are not good on blockchain.
Yeah, that's their whole scaling issue.
Yeah.
I mean, I was testing out that one, I think it's called Akasha or whatever. But anyways, like they have a really interesting token economic ecosystem that they're trying to do. But the practicality of using it as a social media site is just like, it was just a test phase. But you could think like, dude, every time I post, it's like 5 cents. Every time I comment, it's like another 5 cents. And then you have to wait till it like gets on the chain, and then you're just thinking, this is like going back to dial-up. No one is gonna want to do this. Like no one's gonna want to do it. No one. Like I'm just testing it because I'm interested, but like I'm finding it grueling, and I'm like for this.
That's the interesting problem with blockchain, is like you get these glimmers of vision and you're like, oh my god, the whole world could change, this is amazing. And you think, wow, we're making our own economies and our own marketplaces, that's so cool. But then you realize, like, people can buy my book like in 2 seconds if they wanted to. That's already available. Money could be in my real-time bank. It's not happening,
Yeah,
that's already set up. So I think there needs to be something a little bit more there. So, I mean, I like this idea of just playing around with tokens to see what they can mean, and I think the prompt is a really good. The prompt and the gatherings tipping are a couple good examples of what they can do to motivate the behavior that everybody wants.
Satorid, do you see any other networks being able to compete with Minds in terms of open source blockchain media?
Not really, and that's the big difference. Is in one sense for me, in my own kind of like hardcore ideological like techno utopia idea, I was getting frustrated that Minds is not like a true blockchain in the sense that like the token is not getting mined and it doesn't have its own blockchain, and it's deplaced from that value, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just kind of like inside Mind's value, or not even really value, but just like this thing, like a coupon. It's like more like a coupon than it is like a currency.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a stable coin. It will never rise above 15 cents.
Yeah. And so when I was thinking about it, but I see why the other people can't compete is exactly what we're talking about, is that the actual blocks on the physical development of the blockchain itself, no one has developed it in to this point, because I mean a long time ago there was this group called Scenario, and I did like some media work with them, and I was in their hangouts, and they were building their own blockchain, and they had all these great ideas, right? And then they had to scale it down to like some add-in plugin, and it was just like, because like the whole overhaul of having a real scalable blockchain that you know, an open source social media site is just like it's not there. It's just not there. It's not, like I said, like the Kasha thing it's great as far as theoretically, like what they want to do with their token economic system. They're thinking about, you know, the problems with the microtransactions, and then like how to actually evaluate people's time and effort. And you get like these things called mana that like later converts into their Ether own token, which is the actual value. So there's like a tier to their token system, and it's like having this thing that helps facilitate activity, but then like later to solidify that into like a token that is like Ether that has value outside of the system. But like I said, like fucking, I wasted just as an example, I didn't have that much Ethereum. I keep on like messing around and playing with my Steam and transferring it to Ether, then transferring it back to Steam, and like just like playing around to try to get my own feel for the markets and stuff like that, right? So then I had a little bit of Ethereum, but I used it all testing out that one thing that is like Twitter, Pep or Peep or whatever. And it was like the same thing. Like every time you post a Peep, you have to use your Ether. And then like I don't know, I had like $5, but after like a couple of weeks of using it all the time, like I was done. I was like, oh, there goes all my Ether. And I was just like, oh, okay. But it was just to get like the idea of like how is this actually going to work. So to make my point even longer is like, no, I don't see anything yet that practically can be used by an average person.
Yeah, I think the only other one I saw was Sola. I guess
Okay.
Steemit and Sola are the two that are most closely competing. But you said Steemit's a zombie ground?
You know,
they had some trouble. They had some financial trouble. I think.
There's a whole thing, and that's kind of like the problem too, is like having your coin tied to your blockchain, and just how they set up things. People were, you know, kind of cashing out so it's proof of stake. So you have to have these massive amounts of tokens staked. So you could get the transactions to work as fast as they can without doing the proof of work. And there was people, the developers, for whatever reason, they were getting frustrated. Like the DLive was connected to it and DLive left. And this was just before the last crypto winter. So people that like invested, they got frustrated. Like the coin was like up to like $3 or whatever, and then it went down to like 30 cents, and people were just like, "Fuck this." But before that, there was a nice little kind of like budding community. I was like a part of this poetry group, and we had this like thing, Friday night poetry, and we like sometimes it was themed, sometimes it wasn't, and then like haiku Mondays, I think it was, and like kind of trying to get that interaction. And what they use is Discord a lot for their kind of like chatting, because you can't really chat. There's no like chat function on Steam, but everybody goes in their Discord. And after that crash, like a lot of the main users were just like, "Fuck it, we're not even using it." And then it's the problem too is like they have all these like bots, like these bid bots, and like you can't get your thing out there if you don't pay for the bid bots. And then like I had a little small community, and then they left. Like it was just so. If you're looking to get your content out there, it's a hard thing to do. But I was just looking at it as another model to play and like troubleshoot this token economy that I know is coming and that I want to like curtail for my own creative independence.
I had a conversation with John Ottman, Papa John, and he said that the network would have to be about 10 times larger for artists to really be able to make a living on it. That was his projection.
Yeah, that's the kind of feeling that I had 10
and
times.
10 times isn't like crazy, like that could happen in a month or it could happen in years. I don't know.
Oh yeah. I think Google Plus, like when it was at its peak, it felt to me like it was about 10 times as big as what's happening now.
Yeah.
But I feel like, you know what though? It's like 10 times, but the quality of that 10 was
Yeah.
And I think this is part of so one time in these like weird little brainstorming hangouts, they were calling the fireside chats in the scenario community, and we had Douglas Rushcock Club on, and we had like this group chat with him, and it was kind of funny how they were like always talking about, for anybody new to in crypto, it's kind of like the evangelical phase where they're just like everything's crypto and it's going to save everything, and they're like trying to convince people. and Douglas was like, okay, whatever. And then he's like, besides all this token economics and everything, I think the most important thing is onboarding. Is when you talk about tokens or crypto coins, you're inevitably imprinting this kind of game theory thing, money, and then they scheme and they do this, and you're going to attract that type. But if you really want to change anything, then it's about onboarding. Like if you want different interactions, then you have to like model those different interactions. Like it doesn't matter what the system is, you still get that modeling of that change that you want. Kind of like going back
to an example.
Like so it's kind of like Steam it. Like Steam it, because Steam has this external value on this coin, you have these people that do, for lack of a better word, schemes. Like they create these groups and they said, "Oh, we'll promote your stuff and we'll do this," and they get all these coins because they're like, curating your material, and they have these elaborate groups, and then so like they're kind of like publishing houses that like extract the value from the creator, and the creator, in order to do it, he has to play along with it. And it's just they have these collectives that are like, they're not really, the collective itself is not creating stuff, but is using these creators in this way to, and like the biggest thing on Steam is bid bots. So they like, it's like this elaborate Ponzi scheme like, oh, you want to get your stuff out there, then you have to pay to get your message out there. And the only ones that are making any money, if you're looking at it in that point of view, like, oh, you know, the whole thing is to make money by blogging. But the only ones making money are these disembodied bid bots that are like probably controlled by a few people. And then the more people use the bid bots, the more organic reach gets pressed down.
So what Rushkoff was saying is we need to do the opposite of that. Is that right?
Yeah. And he says, if you want more, like the answer to like Facebook, because it's about ads. I mean, Facebook has and YouTube all have this. I think the whole narrative about like, especially recently, I don't know if you saw the Rogan where they had Tim Pool on there with Twitter and whatever, and they're talking about this narrative and bias and all this kind of stuff. And to me, they were dancing around this central thing that Rushkoff and Jared Lanier talk about all the time is in order, you know, going back to this like growing this kind of a quagmire that we're in. He said like 10 times minds has to grow 10 times, but in order to get the masses, you kind of have to clean up the streets. You know, like Disneyland, like why is fucking like Disneyland is a horrible place, but everybody goes there because it's kid friendly and it's all kind of curtailed for you, and like, you know, like it's I mean, it's expensive as fuck. It's crazy lines. Like, I don't see the appeal for me as a person, but everybody's there. Everybody goes there. You bring your kids there because you know what you're gonna get, and all this kind of stuff. It's kind of prepackaged thing that is safe and reliable and there, and they don't, you know, like Twitter is not, and he does have the point about their thing about the gender thing, but their main point is what he kept on saying is that he wants the most people to be on there to talk, and sometimes you have to kind of in order for that you got to curtail the more extreme people and keep it like a Disneyland, so that the people feel, majority of the people feel comfortable. The people that are consuming stuff are that feel safe and comfortable there. And it's not necessarily an ideological thing. It's more that, hey, we need to fucking keep our stock prices up. So like, how do we scheme to do that? Yeah, but that it is like this nefarious thing that fucking the liberal Jewish conspiracy to control the fucking narrative mind. I don't think it's like that. Well, but it's just like, we need to fucking keep our stock up so we don't close, and that and you know.
I mean, there's schemes everywhere. If the principle that you're going by is like, oh, people need to feel comfortable or else they're going to get banned, then the scheme is to feel as uncomfortable as possible in a direct manner to people that you want to get banned, in order to control the platform.
Yeah, I mean,
like, and nobody
and
wants,
that's what the thing is, like, there's individuals that are gaming their kind of hate speech algorithm, right? Yeah, they know how to complain in such a way that it's going to go up into the queue, so then it gets flagged by the algorithm that gets banned because they use these words. And that's the problem with like algorithms. They don't have a sense of understanding context or what the development of words is. They just know this little data pack means flag it. I mean, I was getting flagged on stuff in the initial fucking YouTube, and my stuff is nowhere near like extreme anything. I don't even think it's any ideology. But because I was talking about psychedelics, and those are drugs, so you get demonetized. I had this one thing where I was 9/11, but it was Hunter S. Thompson's interpretation of 9/11. It's just like this great thing, but 9/11, and it just automatically got demonetized, and then I don't have enough followers on my YouTube to even go up anywhere near the queue. So if I go, complain, I didn't really care about the monetization or not, but I just did it just as an exercise. Of course, my fucking 500 subscribers, they're not gonna, and a couple hundred people watching. Well, now it's 1,000 people watching that video, but that's nothing. They're not gonna prioritize that video. It's not because I'm some warrior of truth. It's just because I'm nobody. Like, oh, you're not economically viable for us to give you any, you know. Yeah. But I and I think this is just my own thing. And a lot of times when we have conversations prior to this, I was like, I don't think legislating morality or whatever works. I don't want, like, a lot of times too, I was worried about us doing something in the code. I just like, dude, we just have to, like, if you want to have more engagement on Minds, then fucking engage with people. If you want better content on Minds, then make fucking better content.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean? Like the way.
If you want a gathering, make a fucking gathering, like right now.
Yeah,
let's do it.
I think the guiding principle that I'm abiding by is I want to behave in a way that will help retain the people that I want to be there, because I really like them and I find them interesting, and because
about the moderation, the community moderation that's coming in.
Oh yeah, so what do they got planned for that?
Well, basically, people will be so people will be able to flag content. I think we already can do that. Yeah. And then there'll be a jury. People will be certain users. Most users will be able to qualify to be part of a jury, and they'll deem whether a piece of content should be behind a blurred screen or not, or if it is illegal and should be off the site or not. And I think it has to be above a 75% consensus, and then depending on that decision, there's an additional appeal process, which is again going to be oversaw by like a jury of users, and all of this is going to be tokenized. So if you flag a piece of content and you were correct, like the jury backs that it should have been flagged, you'll get some tokens. If you are part of the jury and you're spending your time going through the queue, you will receive tokens.
Interesting.
So it's like totally democratized jury system, which I can see the downside of, but in a way it seems like that's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
Oh man, it'll be an interesting experiment for sure.
Yeah.
You know, part of it. I hope they don't go too far with this, because part of the appeal of Minds is that wild pre Web 2.0 feel of Minds. That you do see some crazy stuff, and that's, you know, like, how far do you want to go to sanitize Minds?
Yeah. Right. And I think hopefully people don't get so nitpicky, and it's only for extreme use cases. But I think too, hopefully, and I wouldn't use it, but to just give people more ability to filter their stuff if they want to.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't want to see fucking porn, like, then you should have like a filter to block out that shit. It can go too far, but I think it's for every individual to make their own.
Yeah, self-selected filter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. You know, to a point, you can't design one of the downfalls of these like mainstream platforms is designing it around the people who are like the most offended. Like the culture just totally, like, that's not a way you orient a culture. And I like the culture that we fostered with Minds, even though there's some ridiculous crap. The people who tend to stay are legitimately interesting consistently. And
what do you think about the idea of, if somebody joins the site their first month, they're given Minds Pro for free for the first month, and then they can turn off other shit they don't want on, at least for a month, and then after a month they get like a little notification that says, if you don't pay 20 tokens, you're about to see some crazy shit.
That might be a way to do it for sure. Yeah,
because there's an onboarding issue that needs to be addressed, right?
Yeah, definitely. I I try to do my best, but like, and I feel always bad, but then sometimes I don't. Like I'm more concerned on creating stuff.
Yeah.
And I know sometimes I get in this my own like blinders and bubble of that. But when I do come up from the surface of being in my own like little island, I try my best to like encourage if I see something. But that's why too is like for me like I am, and I always have these conversations with Nikki. She went away and then she came back and then she made a post that she was complaining about like, oh, I came back and I was wondering about the rankings and like to get to meet these new Mind members. And I was like, why don't you just like hop on to different people? Like I found new artists just by scrolling down Brett's feed. He found like 2 new artists. Yeah. He found like 2 new artists, and then like Mac is pretty good about like finding people. So you find people just by like not. I hardly ever go through the feed. It's just been something like, I mean, I just been like fuck this. but I hop onto everybody's channel, like especially that I like them. Right?
I'm actually
like
talking to Korean Satorid right now.
Who?
Yeah, Mac is to mute his. How do I mute you, Mac?
Oh. Yeah, sorry if you feel like. Yeah, I was in the neighborhood. I was like, I haven't heard. Is Matt alive?
I'm alive.
Wait, does Mac have a female friend?
I do have a female friend who dropped bomb by.
Wait, is she on Minds?
She should be on mine. Come on over. Say hello.
I gotta get out of here.
Shy now. Yeah, right. I've been showing her your stuffs, and she's
thanks.
Yeah, this is Curry Satorid. Yeah,
Curry.
I was telling you about them.
Curryhobo. Tell him I'm a huge fan.
Okay, she's a huge fan.
I heard her. Thank you, anonymous female voice.
No way, the Curryhobo.
The one and only.
One and only.
Wait, I'll take it off the headphones. So
Did you want a Q&A with the one and only?
The Q&A. You should go on Reddit and be like, AMA Curryhobo.
Nobody on Reddit knows who the fuck I am. I'm a
Dude,
one-platform
man. I'm a huge fan.
What's your favorite piece?
Honestly, that one where you have like a continuous kind of thing going on with like the scroll thingy.
Scroll.
The one about the tokens? Oh, the website.
Yeah, that one really captured me.
Wow, thanks.
You're welcome.
This is great.
Oh, Mac's a real person with real friends.
Can I get an autograph?
I don't know how that works.
I don't know. Oh, this look like a side of my boot.
Yeah.
All right, what were we talking about?
I don't know. we're talking about the website strategy.
I had this one idea of doing like one of those sort of Scrowl style blog posts with some animation embedded and have it addressed to Joe Rogan and sort of be like, here's what you don't understand about open source and about Minds and about the potential of this thing.
Yeah. That's
theoretically he's on the site.
That's something you could post on the Joe Rogan subreddit.
Yeah.
But I was thinking with onboarding, the thing with onboarding is it's kind of like a filter of if you make it too easy to onboard, you get shitty users. You get a flood of lots of users, but you also get a lot of shitty users.
Yeah.
You want to have some sort of effort, some sort of hoop that people have to jump through. Like, Minds presents the vision of what it is, and then you get into the reality of it. And if the reason why the people who stay here are so interesting is because they're the people whose vision exceeds their kind of immediate observation of reality, which is a good thing.
That's something that's interesting, and it kind of reminds me of almost anything, but when you have something that's maybe not perfect, like the gift of being kind of poor, like why hip hop was so interesting in its beginning is like there's these poor kids getting secondhand turntables that they have to fucking like actually like engineer themselves to use because they're getting like just like throwaway stuff, and then they have to like figure out how to use it and like how to like, you know, they didn't take they didn't go to music class. Like they fucking, I have a record and I like this beat. Let me figure out how to like make it into something different. And then like, I just have my voice. Let me figure out how to use my voice in such a way that like commands the room. Like I'm just here, like fucking, I want to like, I don't have any bells or whistles or any, you know, advanced, you know, skills or techniques, but I have my desire to be heard and just like doing it. And like, you know, especially early on minds is like, fuck. I mean, we would have to like troubleshoot. I remember like I would have to like open up like in the early minds, like a few different tabs and to like refresh, because we would have the like the lifetime comments and refresh the comments to have like a conversation. And then like, then I was like, fuck this. Like, let's use Jitsi. Let's use this. Like, we need to use other things and just like fucking force it into the thing how I want to use it. Like, just we don't have group chat. Well, fuck it. There's a group chat up here. And there's Google Hangouts. There's that. We don't have a really good group chat. Well, fuck it. We're gonna use Slack. Like, we don't have good groups. We're gonna use Lumio. Like, we're gonna do this. Like, if we don't have it, then I'm just gonna duct tape it in, and we're gonna keep on pushing it. And I want to keep on seeing how, because I seriously, on the good days I see like this thing within my grasp, and that I at the same time like I keep on pushing it, but then I also know like at times you need to like let it be and like go with it. But there's a saying that there's like this new agey idea about the world's perfect just as it is, but then there's like this clause to it, but so is my desire to change it. And it's like this thing of being right now as it is, but also your own will to create the change that you want to see, to model the behavior that you want to be. And I think, you know, I think that's what I like about the poetry, and that's why a lot of times my stuff is I try to polish it, but not polish it that much. Like when I did my thing, it's like I wanted to put my own self-doubt. Like there's times where I feel very strong in my own voice, but then there's also the little mind behind me, like, what the fuck are you saying? Like, is that like get over yourself? Like, you know what I mean? Like, calm down.
I like that hip hop metaphor a lot.
Yeah.
Like, we can use the tools. We don't need to like bug Bill to make improvements so that we can do what we want to do.
Yeah. And I mean, like, seriously, there's a lot of good, I mean, they're not great, but they're good enough open source tools. I mean, it's so funny. I have this own problem with my own people of old Imaginarium friends. Like this was like at one time, Imaginarium had like 12 different people in it, and we were like there, but it was me doing like everything. Like I would organize the stuff, I would do the edits and this and that, and everybody, you know, would say different things, and I'm like, dude, there's no reason why you can't do it. Like, I don't have anything special about me. It's like, I just, after work, I would spend my time fucking editing stuff on audio Audacity. Like, I don't have no special knowledge before that. I just kept on like, oh, and it's funny because like you get into this thing where like recently when I was doing the edit, like I want to save some time, but I also when I'm in the editing form, like I get like hypercritical. And if you notice the newer ones of the reading and the discussion, I clean up this like background noise, and it gets so frustrating because like how much is too much to take out, and how much, because there's like this, little crackles and little things. But sometimes they're good, but sometimes they're bad. And then you could get really granular with like taking them out or leaving them in. And
yeah, if you get too granular, then it's like overworked.
Yeah, but there's a nice elegance that you could do. Like I mentioned before, like I go back to my cooking rustic food. Like I came from fine dining, then I went to rustic food. So fine dining is like everything has to be perfect. It's like a system, and you get the best like micro flowers and all this kind of stuff. Like it's all beautiful. It's like, but it's like a system, and it has to look like this way, and you have to have it in the center. You know what I mean? Like everything like that is like kind of like mapped out, and then you kind of go robotically. And then when I was in the rustic, he's like, dude, you're messing around with it too much. Like it doesn't need to be perfect, but it can't look like shit. He's like, this is hard. Like you got to like throw it on and make it look organically, but without it looking like shit. And like, so he's telling me that, and I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? And I throw it on, and like, oh, it looks like shit to me. And then, but then like, there's a way of like tossing the herbs onto it. There's a way that you get into like this feel of laying things down in an elegant way, not just like throwing it, but like laying it down. And then you get like just a touch of throwing the items on the plate. You could like you do it without thinking. If you do it, you do it. Like I remember one time we had all these plates piled up for this private dinner, and I was working at this really nice kitchen, and I was kind of young, and they were very bad people. But anyways, they were like, "Oh, wait for us to plate that food." They're like, "Well, you guys don't trust me? I fucking plate this plate all the time." And so they're like they're kind of famous chefs, and anyways, she was like, "I'm gonna plate it. I'm gonna plate it." She was like on Top Chef and all this bullshit. And then I was like, what the fuck? She doesn't trust me? I was getting mad. I was getting pissed. I'm like, I could fucking do this. And she goes and she plates one plate, and I have like 5 plated. And she looks at my plate, and she looks at her plate, and she's like, okay, you can do all of it. And she leaves me with like 1,000 plates to plate. I'm like, you fucking bitch. Like, why didn't you just like let me do it? Like, there's something about someone doing something a lot that you just get an intuition for it. You just start doing it. And like that work play plurk principle of if you take your fun serious, you and I think that's why I'm able to do those video edits, because like things have led me up to this point, like me working things out with Mind's Panel Show, and then that evolved into Infinite Imaginarium, where I went more crazy with just experimenting stuff. And then like now I have this vast knowledge of okay, now I have this go-to place where I have like this resource of different beat tapes that are a Creative Commons that I use, that I go to. I have this set of a library of all these clips of different images. Like sometimes I don't even know why. I'm like, oh, this looks kind of cool. Let me just make a clip of that. I don't know when I'm going to use it. I don't know how I'm going to use it, but I just like how that looks. Like if I see something, a movie, a video, I have different places I go. I'm like, oh, that looks cool. I don't know when I'm going to use it. I don't know how I'm going to use it, but I'm going to rip it. Rip it. It's there. It's there. So when I get into these frenzies of like inspiration, then I have my video editing colors that I've already kind of like messed around with, and then okay, now it's time to like piece them together as I'm going along, and that you just like, it's just doing it, just keep on doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it, and it's interesting to keep on. I like, that's why I was telling Dream Eater, it's not about like having a lot of followers or anything like that. Like, yeah, it would be nice in some near future to be able to get support for whatever this thing that I'm doing. But right now, I mean, I'm like addicted to the process. Like, it's the process. It's like learning about myself. It's about
That line came from a dream?
Yeah, that came from a dream.
That's cool.
And so this is like my own like guiding principle when I do stuff. Is like when I hear stuff, I'm like, oh, that's dope. But now I gotta find the beat that belongs to that. Now I gotta find that aesthetic beauty that belongs to that essential beauty that it's expressing, you know, and trying to find it. Like always chasing that saying something deep and having a dope ass beat. Yeah. And then trying not to get jumped by some fucking gangsters.
Well, I have to go, but it was a pleasure talking to you, gents.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, let's do it again soon.
Definitely, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Have a good afternoon, guys.
Cool. Love you, Mac.
I love you too. I love you, Tori.
Yeah, go have fun in the real world.
Yeah, for sure.
Try to eat those candies.
Yeah. Oh, and Lisa loves you, Curry. She loves you.
Cool. Tell her to get on mine, and then we can collab.
I'm going to. She's making an account today.
Nice.
No.
All right. See ya.
See ya. Oh, that was good.
Yeah. So how you been, Curry?
I've been a bit stressed, actually, just with like finances, you know,
yeah.
And like feeling impatient with it feels like everything I want to happen is actually happening, but it's just happening slower than my impatient inner self wants it to.
Yeah, for sure. That's like the real conundrum, right? There's this, you know, like this thing that we're talking about. Like it feels like it's within our grasp, like it's like right there, but for whatever reason, it always seems to like slip through.
Yeah,
like and you know, in one sense, like I think it's everybody's struggle for like all different arrays how it manifests. But that's the only stress too that I have is economic stress, and I'm lucky that or it's not necessarily luck, it's more by design that I have like stripped away a lot of responsibilities. So I'm down with this like freedom because I don't have a kid. I don't have much overhead on my own life, and so like I keep on choosing for my own self because, like I said, the only stress I really have is like getting worried about like fucking money, which I don't like to think about, but at the same time you have to think about, and I remember keep on telling. And my friend Nikki is like, I think this is why the fucking we're ruled by the least among us, because that's what they think about. You know what I mean? Think about this stuff, and I should think about it. But I think this is something too that is interesting. I don't know how long or when it would happen, but I think this has always been my secret. Hidden goal, or not so secret anymore. But Imaginarium is just this loose umbrella for whatever. But that when Minds is ready, when we are ready, and whoever that we is, and it could always oscillate and it should always oscillate, but that we could create our own node, the Infinite Imaginarium node, that is unendeavorably linked to Minds, all the time, but also too, it's with the theme of really pushing for like the content creators and whatever form that takes, and that we support each other, but also too, it's in a way that we could figure out how to economically support each other, like whether it's we network, like people know, if I want to do some video work, or I want someone to like do a scribble or whatever for my blog or for whatever, like here's a go-to place that we could go, and hopefully in some organic way that it's there, like people could pop into that node and be like, hey, like what you were doing in our group, which hopefully if it's in such a way that you said, I want a track for this video, but like it wasn't that, like I kind of had to like force it a little bit, but like hopefully someone in the near future when the network's bigger and when we're doing our stuff, that they could go on Infinite Imaginarium thing is like, hey, anybody that does cool drawings, I want a banner for my blog, or I want some work for my website, or I want some ideas for branding my cannabis candy, or whatever it is, and they could go up there, and we encourage these kind of meaningful interactions, and it's up to everybody to do it, but it's kind of like just an easier way to do it. Like I think a lot of, like I see the new users, and I know for a lot of people it's like, that's why I wanted to start off the Minds Poetry mic night, because we kind of did it like unstructured, and I'm all for that, but I was like, okay, I want to come out here and fucking like hopefully try to spark everybody. Like, it's okay, come out here and just say whatever you want to say. Like, let's do it. Like, let's just fucking get out here and do it. And like, I feel like that a lot of times, like there's like some new users, she posted something. I'm cautiously optimistic about Minds. And I'm like, oh, great. If she runs into the wrong circles, she's going to leave real quick. And then I'm like, oh, hey, how are you doing? And then like reminding her stuff, and then like, just being nice. Like, please, like we need we need all sorts of different people. And I think just like what you were saying about you seeing some Holocaust denying video, and then Mac, I think he said something about some Nazis. Like my first experience on Minds was way different. Like I remember the first day I signed up, we were bouncing around different people's posts talking about all sorts of crazy shit. Like I don't even know what we were talking about. We were like talking about like consciousness, psychedelics, fucking. That was the first time someone told me about Bitcoin. I was like, "What the fuck is this shit?" And I looked it up, and then like I spent like fucking a month down a rabbit hole. I'd be like, "Oh my god! Like we need to do this. I need to figure out more about this shit." And then like seeing different things, and then it was very infant ages of things, and I was like, oh, it needs a more counterbalance. And I was doing more, like at that time there was anonymous people, there was just like shit posters, there was like a little budding artist people, and then like me, and I was figuring out where I fit in, and there was a lot of new age stuff, and I was like, I like it, but we need to ground it more in science. So I was posting a lot of like science articles about just like the neurology, and like let's ground this stuff a little bit more. That was just like my first like campaign, and then I got so crazy with this stuff that John asked me if I wanted to monitor the science and technology page. And he was like, I'm basically just mirroring your feed. I'm like, okay. So I did that for like a little while. This was like a couple months into it, and then I just started like trying to do different things. Like one of the first things I did, it was this group. No one really used it, but I've always been on this kick about collective work. And it was called Open Source Story. How we turn I into we. And it was just like, tell a personal story. And so I told a story about like my grandma. And like, just throw it out there. And then everybody shares the story. And it was like my idea that like, the more we tell about like ourselves, that we find this reflected in everybody else. And so I was like trying to get people to do that. Then the next thing I did was open source library. Like, let me put up all my PDFs. At that time, the attachments didn't have, like, you could attach PDFs. So I just uploaded everything on my computer, and I like organized it like in kind of a little way, and like, here everybody, here's all my books that I like. Fucking Alan Watts, Timothy Leary, Robert Anton Wilson, Douglas Rushkoff. Like, here books. Everybody come and like put your books in here. That kind of went all right, but so I just kept on like trying to fucking do something. Then my friend was like, "Hey, he was trying to do a podcast, and he was like, "Hey, I want to interview you because I wanted to practice for this, thinking about doing this podcast." And I'm like, "Podcast? What the fuck?" And I was like, "Dude," I felt nervous. I didn't want to do it. I was like, "What the hell are you going to interview me about?" It's like, "Oh, we'll just talk about Minds. Like, you talk to Bill. You're in the know of Minds." And I'm like, "Really? Oh, I don't know." I was like really nervous. I remember even up until like I logged into, I forgot what we were using at the time. I think not Gab. I don't know. It was some weird other site that we were using that was like a group chat social media thing. But anyways, I get on there and I was just like, well, I do not want to be here. I do not know what I'm going to say. But then after we started talking, and then I got excited and I just started talking about stuff. I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then he's like, you should start your own podcast. I'm like, what? It's like, yeah, do it on Minds. Like, you talk to John, you talk to Bill, you have that group with like Ghost Spiders, and you know what's going on. And I'm like, really? It's like, I don't know. And then I was like, then I finally was like, fuck it, let's do it. Minds Panel Show. And I just started advertising it. And everybody's like, what's this? What's this? And I started making like these trailers because I was waiting for my friend to do video editing. And he was just like taking forever. So I was like, fuck it, I'm going to learn it myself. And I made this like really simple video And everybody's like, what's this Minds Panel show? Like, oh, this sounds cool. This sounds interesting. And I started laughing because there was like 1 week where I mention it, and then the next week I make a video, and everybody's talking about it, and everybody's like, and then they're like, I can't believe this is a thing now. And I was like, you don't know how like fake this thing is.
Yeah.
like it's just an image with me saying that it is something. And I was just like,
all you need, right?
Yeah, and I was like, this is like wildfire. Like, I just got so crazy. I was like, why don't everybody do this? And I guess, like, I was literally getting people and like saying, hey, you should have your own show. Like, like Infinite Imaginarium wasn't my idea; it was a friend's idea. And I was like, dude, you should make this into a podcast, and I'll produce it for you, and I'll set up the room, and you guys talk about whatever you want to talk. Like, this sounds cool. I was like, dude. We wanted to have we had a crypto hustle show that I did, which was all about crypto. But I wanted another one where it was like I forgot what we called it. It was basically like a code talk for Minds, and try to like get coders to come to Minds and like not only like talk about like what features we want, but like actually try to get people to do it. That was a little harder to start. We never did that. We had a few. I think it was like code talk or something like that. And that was like only me and Gov Spiders, and then we're just like, then it became too much. Like I was too scattered. And I was just like, okay, let me just focus in on one idea. I was like, fuck it, Infinite Imaginarium. I'm more excited about that. Took out the rest. Then Imaginarium slowed down.
Banner. It's such a good banner for people to collect under.
Yeah, because
that's what it is, right? We all have like these banners, and it's like, hey, do you want to come like march under my banner or like create under my banner? And then it's our banner. And some banners are more inclusive, and other ones are like more specific for a particular purpose. And Infinite Imaginarium's just like, hey, everybody come and imagine your ass off.
Yeah,
and that's what's so appealing about it.
That's what excited me so much about it. Like, I liked the Minds Panel show. And me and Mac were kind of talking about this. Like, sometimes you get stuck in a certain space and you don't even know it. So I was doing a lot of mind stuff. Like, all my images were like minds. I kept on like playing with the same stuff. And I guess I felt like comfortable because like I knew like you know, like people, if you put a mind's light bulb on something and you say something, you rip off some quote from somebody and people are like, oh, I like this. and then so we started doing the Minds Panel show and it was good. But then like people were, I didn't mind people being critical. But what my retort was always like, then you do it. Like there was one point where people were complaining. No, it wasn't a lot. But there was this whole issue of like, who's fucking Satorid to say what Minds is? And I'm like, dude, you don't have to like listen to me. Like I literally passed out the password for the Minds Panel show to like 30 people in the beginning. I was like posting it up like, here, use this channel. Like I was like, the only reason it seems like I'm the one saying anything is because I'm the only one doing anything. Like, fucking use it. And I was like, you know what? It's becoming too much my identity. And like, if people want to use it, they use it. Instead of having a narrow like Minds theme banner, which I like Minds and I like the whole thing, but I was like, I want a broader banner. And I was like, even though this Imaginarium idea seems like it's dying, I like it. And I think that this is a better banner to include almost anything. Like, Minds Panel show, I still think should be under Imaginarium, right? And like Minds Poetry should be under Imaginarium. But it's not even under, but it's like this, like the Infinite Imaginarium is like the soil for anything to like grow and create this ecosystem of stuff. So as Curryhobo becomes more of this crazy creative fucking mushroom spore, it helps the whole ecosystem of creativity, right? The Minds Poetry, redwood tree or whoever else. Like I was talking to the mystics of Minds, and he's trying to do something cool. I'm like, dude, like, there's no reason why we shouldn't. And it isn't like I don't even care. Like, like I just consider people Imaginarium doing anything. You're Imaginarium and you don't even know it. You've been anointed. You're Pope. You're this. And like, I just think it's just something to help feel like support for anybody doing something creative, and that's why I like using it in that way. Go Imaginarium, because like it's always funny too. I haven't been that good, and hopefully Nikki comes back and she helps me. She was actually one of the first person or quote unquote co-founder of Imaginarium, of just the term Imaginarium as this like thing that was first started happening. Her and Dale, she's writing a book or something like that. Both Dale and Nikki are writing a book. But anyways, they were supposed to be like the host of the show and like do more stuff. But it's always funny, like when I remember when I first interviewed Sex, Death, and Rebirth, and like everybody has like the same kind of initial like feeling, like I was really nervous about this like podcast. I even sometimes hate like even labeling podcasts, but like you got to say something to like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, and that's why I always have like the same thing. Like, don't worry, like, yeah, it's getting live streamed, but it's like no one watches it, so don't trip.
Yeah, totally.
Like, don't worry about it. Like even in the poetry thing, it's like, oh, are you gonna live stream it? And in the back, he writes some like he reposts it and he says, "Oh man, I didn't know he started recording and I sound like a pretentious douche or something like that." And I start laughing. I was like, "I love live streaming without telling anybody."
Yeah,
because you get the best. Like, I mean, early on I have like a whole like B tape of everybody like just laughing, and I remember we were trying to do this intro, and my friend, I was like, "Hey, do an intro," and then so we just do a couple of takes of it, and then I could always like put you in like, "Hey, this is Have Faith, like welcome to the Mind Spanish show," and so she was trying to do, and she was like, "What did I do?" I said, "Just do that," and she was like, "Okay," but she kept on laughing, and then I start laughing, and then she does it, but she's like laughing, and she's like, "You better not use that." Like, no. That's the perfect take. And then I kept on using that, and she got a little embarrassed, but I was like, dude, that's such a pure, nice expression. Like, that's great. Mm-hmm. Like, it's recently I did that edit for Netison X, and what's his poem called? Love's something. Anyways, Love's Regression. And he laughs in it like a minute into it, and he laughs, and then he has to like regroup himself, and then goes, and he's like, "Oh man, like this is cool. I didn't know I sounded so bad." And I'm like, "Dude, it's beautifully imperfect," and I put imperfect like in quotes. Like, don't worry about it. Like he's talking about like his. I didn't say don't worry about it, but in my own head, I was like, don't worry about it. Like you don't know how sick I get of my own voice. Like when I'm editing, like, oh my god, I can't believe I sound like that.
Isn't it funny how we're all like
so critical of ourselves?
We feel the vulnerability in our own voice way more than
anybody ever
shy about it.
Yeah, and like I'm always shocked when someone says something. Like recently, I had a Imaginarium gathering like a couple weeks ago, and then some new people showed up, right? And I was like, "Oh yeah, if I could get Nikki to do this intro, this and that." Then I was going to have this idea for like a video. And she's like, "Oh, no offense to her, but I really like your voice." And I'm like, "What?" Like, mine is the worst voice. I'm like, "Oh, fuck, I hate saying stuff." And I'm like, "Oh." But I just, at times, it's usually, and I'm getting more and more out of my own head because it's like, fuck it. I just, like, I don't, part of me is just like, still my punk ethos, like, fuck it, just do it. I remember when I listened to like Ramones, oh, I could write this fucking song. Like, just fucking go out there and just do it, and don't wait around for anybody. And like that's why I was like, I'm gonna kick off the Minds Poetry group. Like I want, and just fucking. I messed up at the end, but then it's like funny because no one really notices if you mess up unless you kind of like acknowledge it. Just like go with it.
Yeah,
but it's hard. It's hard for your own stuff. Yeah,
because it's all improv at the end of the day. Even if it's rehearsed, when you go to perform it, you're still improving it.
Yeah.
There's this practice that I've been doing a little bit within the community here, and we call it forum, and it has like a very specific kind of format to it. And the idea is that the floor is sort of open. Everybody sits in a circle, and the middle of the circle is open for any kind of performance. And the performance is not to be interrupted by anybody around the circle. You're not even really supposed to laugh, even if something's funny. You kind of like you're trying to like be in observation. And then once the performance is over, and the performance is typically improvisational by design, like you don't want it to be rehearsed. So people go up there and just talk about what's on their mind. Sometimes they're depressed, sometimes they're excited. And they just go through the story that's been going around in their head, really. And then once they feel complete in that, the floor is then open for a mirror. And a mirror is like its own kind of performance where you go up and you don't speak directly to the person who is performing. You don't give them advice or direct it to them. You direct it to everybody. And if you want, you can pretend you are them, or you can like embody some sort of character. And you just sort of mirror what you saw. And it has such a profound way of revealing things to you, because instead of, I don't know, it breaks the conversational mold so that you're paying such close attention to somebody, and then you're mirroring them in a way that's very creative and very abstract. And man, I've seen like such like epiphanies come from it within myself and within other people. And I think there's a connection between that and what we're doing on social media in a way, because when we post something, we're sort of like presenting something for people's attention. I don't know, there's a link in my mind between the forum structure and what's happening on social media and how it could be better.
Yeah, and I think that's what, I think maybe this is what you're getting to with what Joe Rogan doesn't realize about Minds. And I try to, in a subtle way, mention this to Douglas Rushkoff one time. Because I've done stuff. I did stuff with Are You Serious, who knows Douglas Rushkoff, and I set up with these interviews, and I talked to him in email a couple of times, but I don't want to be like all up in his business. But I just like, I remember trying to like, he had a Team Human, a Slack group that I was in. I was pretty active for a while. And then I was just trying to like subtly tell him that don't use Minds as just a drop to like promote stuff, because like it's not gonna work, and that you need to engage. But I know that he's at a different level. Like he says, he gets like thousands of emails a day. Like, you know what I mean? Like Joe Rogan too. Like it's practical to use it the way I think it should be used. And that was that problem too with that guy selling his mushrooms, right? All he wanted to do was like sell mushrooms, but not engage with people. And there's a lot of people that are really good at trolling, so they see that as like, oh, there's an injured deer, let me go pounce on that. there's a fucking wide opening, I gotta go over there and shitpost this guy.
Yeah.
And I think I've been, for my own self, I hear other people and I see it, but I don't engage in it. But I always find it interesting that, because I think everybody just like knows in Minds, and most of the people know, oh, that's Satorid. He's one of our freaks. So like you know what I mean? Like normally, like if I would like post some stuff, they're like, "What are you, fucking Marxist, or you fucking hippie? You fucking..." Sometimes I get the druggy thing, like, "Oh, you done too much drugs," and I just kind of ignore it. But you know what I mean? Like the shit posters don't fucking shit on my stuff. They kind of like, "Oh, there's Satorid over there, fucking dancing by himself in the corner. Like he's cool. He's part of our tribe."
Do you think the website will? Do you think Minds will get to a place where just promoting yourself, especially for people who have really large audiences, that becomes like more viable?
That's a double-edged sword. Like, I hope it does in one sense, but I hope, just like with anything, my problem is I could care less. I don't even pay attention that much to the alt-right or fucking Nazis. It's just that I hate if one narrative is dominating or branding the thing, and it's such a fragile ecosystem that it throws everything out of whack. You know what I mean? Like, it kind of like saddens me. You guys didn't have the same experience that I did when you first came on, like where you saw, like, you could go and like, oh, there's someone doing weird things over here and like talking about cryptocurrency, but also doing poetry and like, you know what I mean? It's like Nazis. Fucking, what are these black people doing at a market? You're just like, oh.
The thing is, like, you and Mac were the first people I kind of like clung to as like, oh, these people doing interesting work. I was like, oh, this guy's taking like amazing movie footage and pairing it with McKenna's like ramblings. Yeah. Fucking awesome. That's exactly what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And then Mac was just like engaging.
He's
on such,
really
like,
good
so at
engaging.
Yeah.
And even when he's not necessarily directly engaging, but with the material, he's very you could feel his enthusiasm for when he appreciates something, and he like is elegant and not shy of like putting in the time to express it. Like, there's things like I said, I would say 80% of my own main focus is creating content, and then like the 20%, like I even have a hard time making a good synopsis of my stuff, because like after I do all the edit and I'm a little bit burned out, and I'm just like, fuck, I don't even want to like describe this. I just want to put it out there.
Yeah.
Like, as I think about it, I'm getting better at what I'm doing, and I do want more people to see it. That I should get better at. I even hate the word branding, but like doing a little bit of that in a sense, and not just being like, oh, here's a crazy video that I did and I don't care if anybody sees it. I do like that. I don't like boosting stuff because I like my material to find the people and not like push it on anybody. Like, I want someone to just like, randomly stumble onto this thing. They're like, what the fuck is this? Like, not really even having a clue what it actually is. Like, oh, for all the craziness, what is this weird thing? They'd be like, oh, what the fuck? This guy's actually doing some good work. Just putting up some weird trash.
Sometimes I think about my channel as just like an extension of my computer's hard drive.
Okay, yeah.
Something has reached a certain level of like permanence, or like I really want this to stick around for a while. Yeah. I don't want to accidentally delete it or something. Then I upload it to my Minds, and sometimes I'll even label it in a way that's the way you would label something to archive it, not to brand it. Yeah. Which is, I don't know if that's good, because I see some people who are like doing very in your face branding, and it can get results because it's more approachable.
Yeah. That is definitely something too that I kind of like ponder a lot. You know what I mean? And I recently, because I want these little poetic videos things that I'm doing. I want that to dominate the Minds like top thing, and I've been looking. I'm like, I don't understand why it's not there. Like, am I not doing something right? Like, then I realized that I don't think I'm really hashtagging it. And I'm like, I don't really like doing that. But I was like, I gotta do it. But I was like, dude, like, there was one video, the Rush Away video, like within the first day, it got like 50 upvotes and reminded, and it wasn't on the top thing. And I looked at the top things, and there's like things on like the top 20 that are like have like 6 views, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I want someone like just I wanted to like, hey, this is also here on Minds. Like this is something going on that anybody could come and do. Like, come play with us. Like, yes, there are Nazis, but yes, there's some poetic Nazis too. Yes, there are some people that are taking their weirdness seriously. Yes. When the going gets weird, the weird turns pro.
Sometimes I think about Minds as like an anti-brainwashing mechanism for people. Like you come here and you're a bit brainwashed by, you know, all the media you've been consuming in your life. And then you start seeing things from everybody. So you're like getting a bit pulled in all directions. Like it has a way of like clarifying your mind by showing you everything and then allowing you to find the things that have the depth of meaning that you're probably really looking for.
Yeah. And I think that was this is kind of interesting for my own self. And I guess it's, for me, it's just like, I value my time a lot. So I don't like, if I make judgments not on like, oh, this or whatever. It's like, do I have the time to like engage in that, or do I like, I'm like, especially when I'm doing something like I'm so like focused, like I need more music, I need more visuals, like consume, and then like render it, and then like, so if it's not like within that purview of like, oh, political, don't even bother it, or even if it's branded like censorship sucks. Well, I don't even care about that. Like, I'm not gonna even give it a chance. But when I met him he was cool. Like he added to, like, he really pushed for us to like discuss in our poems. Like he was like leading this charge. Like, oh, can you read that again? Like, oh, what do you mean by this line? And not in like oh, what do you mean by saying that? But no, like really like honest curiosity and like wanting to like get deeper into just not like, I think this is something what I like about doing the video edits, and hopefully this is something that happens, is that I hate this such like fleeting stuff, because I know that even my best video edit is never going to be as successful as a fucking image or a meme. It's never going to do that. But I want it to be almost timeless. Like, I want it to be like a year from now to look at that poem and be like, fuck, like, yeah, that's still meaningful. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of these memes is like fucking week later, it's meaningless. Like, it doesn't even make sense in any context anymore. Okay, AOC is a fucking socialist. Well, okay, big deal. Fucking this or whatever it is. Jesse Smollett. Oh, I get it. He's a fucking idiot.
I didn't even know who that guy was before.
Me either.
I don't know who he is.
But all of a sudden,
he fucked up. That's all I know.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like, it's like, fuck. And even in the podcast thing is like, I know I could have, like, quote unquote, done better if I like really stuck to that crypto hustle, crypto update show. Like, that's something I could have marketed and could have like went to standard podcasting thing. But it was like week after week of doing the show. At a certain point, it was like, okay, I get it. Like, we're talking about fucking what's the market doing with Bitcoin, and it just became like this thing. And I was just like, nah, I don't know. Like, and I know it's bad that I like, if you look at it economically or in this like monetizing way, which you have to have a little bit of that, but it's not cost effective for me doing what I do with Imaginarium. Like, it's not weekly. It's too much work that sometimes like even if I work really hard, I have so much audio that I can't even like get it into that week. But it's at times I just feel like, you know what? Like, I feel myself pushing because I want to get stuff out there, but I was like, you know what? Like, get away from the computer, go watch something, or like walk around, go to the park, drink some tea, then come back, and then then you're like, okay, yeah, I get it. Okay, like it just needs a little bit more. And then I just think, for me, I enjoy that process, and I don't want to feel like, I don't ever want to feel like, you know, any outside pressure besides my own feeling of like, okay, I like this. I think this is good, and fuck whatever happens. But at the same time, I know that's why I think systemly, and like why I like our conversations of, you know, thinking about this in a different way is, can we have a collective? Can we create a node, like physically, but also to just as the way we interact with each other? Because I think the way we are, like, for lack of a better word, socially and culturally, that it also reflects in networks, like, you know, us engaging each other with our voices and engaging each other with this creativity creates these other support threads of ideas. And that if we're always chasing to just like have something to post for whatever reason to stay relevant or whatever, that we're not getting deeper into that. And yeah, it takes some time, but I think if we keep on getting into that deeper, true collective collaboration, there's like a creative collective intelligence that's there, that we do it passively, like everything you've ever heard and ever seen is what gets like mirrored and reflected. But that, like what you're saying with that forum, like there's different techniques and there's different things, there's different structures that we could use that could help foster it, that we could, we kind of like gotta like, one, have a forest, but also tend the forest and make sure that, like they found out that you take out the woods from the national parks, like the pest and the weeds grow crazy. But once they reintroduce the wolf to the national parks, like the ecosystem stabilized. You know what I mean? Like if you curate it too much, then you lose that wildness and that chaotic beauty. But if you just, you know what I mean? Like there's elegance to it.
Yeah, and it's self-stabilizing.
Yeah. And it just happens.
Yeah. So what do you think is going to be, like, I'm actually kind of looking at the roadmap right now, and I'm thinking,
nice.
like, what are these? So multi-currency support for Wire is at the top of the list. It says it'll be completed by the end of April.
Oh, cool.
That seems to be a game changer.
Hell yeah.
And they're just wrapping up the community moderation, which says phase 1. And I think that's going to be a huge game changer as well, because they're overwhelmed with content.
I would think, just in the sense that they could unload that burdensome task for them. So I know, every time I would like have conversations with Bill, it always ended up being whatever the current crisis of minds is. Like, we have these fucking pedophiles or fucking whatever is going on, and that dominated our conversation. And I'm like, dude, I know you want to talk about, and I know you do other stuff than just this fucking ticky-tacky administrator stuff. Like, you create art. I know you're interested in poetry. You used to do these music festivals. Like, there's more fun stuff that we could get into. But he's just like dominated by the current administrative ticky-tacky bullshit that's going on right now. And you have to address it, and you have to do that. I get it. Yeah. But you could, there's going to be a time where Bill and most of the guys could unleash more creativity, I think.
And I for the community moderation, I think I'd be interested to try it. Like, I'll spend an hour going through the most controversial content. I'd be open to see what that's like. Not often, but every once in a while, I'll be like, yeah, bring it on. Let's see what people are posting, that people are flagging. I'm curious, it gives you an insight into the culture. It's not just a chore. It's like, if it's not your full-time job, it's kind of an interesting thing to look into.
Yeah.
If it is your full-time job, it's probably a hellscape.
Dude, I've read articles of like horror stories of YouTube monitors, just seeing like fucking people dying and all sorts of weird shit.
Oh, great! I just saw kitty porn, and now I'm about to watch a beheading.
Yeah. So, and that's just the beginning of my work. Yeah, I still have 9 more hours of work.
Shit,
like, we're just getting started. The coffee is not even warm yet.
What a world we live in, man. Jesus.
Fucking crazy. I just don't get it. Like, even with this guy that he like boosts all the time about fucking black people, I'm just like, dude, are you like a robot?
He's anti-pigmentation? Is that the deal?
I don't know. He just constantly boosts his videos about like, oh, the fellas at the market went into the wrong market today. Oh, the fellas, they say that white people are the problem, but look at this black guy shot somebody in Chicago today. And like, he just has like this, I forgot his name, but he's just all the time on the boost.
As soon as I hear people talking in black and white terms, I'm like, well, your opinion is meaningless to me.
Yeah, and I'm just like, not even like that. I'm just trying to think in his own, like, don't you get tired of this? Like,
yeah.
Like, even things that I like, I would get bored of, like, if I was constantly just, which I do a lot, of psychedelics, like, promoting psychedelics. Like, if that was every day of just nonstop, my feed is nothing but, like, Terrence McKenna and psychedelics and fucking mushrooms, which a lot of it is, but I would just still, even though there's such a broad scape of psychedelics, like, you know, psychedelic art, even poetry and all this kind of stuff. But like, I remember early on, I posted some music, and someone, I guess, that followed me, it's like, what are you doing posting this? And it was like different than, I guess, like articles, and I don't know. It was just weird that he like commented, like, he never commented on anything before, but he like commented on, like, I think I posted something from Tiny Desk. And then he's like, this is weird. Like, are you becoming, like, fucking trying to be popular or whatever? I'm like, what? I just liked it. I listened to a lot of stuff. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting. I just thought someone else will find this interesting. And I was like, there's no agenda to it. It's just, I was literally listening to it, and I thought it was good. And so I posted it. Not like, oh, I'm going to get 20 likes for this. It was just weird. I just was like tripping out on him. Like, what is he thinking? Like, what is going on?
It's funny, the jealousy that comes up. Like, I felt it even in myself, but I definitely observe it in the wider community of if somebody's getting a lot of attention, there's the jealousy and an anger, and we're comparing our views or our followers, subscribers to other people's.
Yeah.
And, it's an interesting part of the culture. I don't know if it can be skimmed out over time and we just become like more inclusive and realize that those numbers don't matter for the actual creation of content. But I feel it. I'll come across somebody's page and be like, how is this like super
2,000 followers? I get Satorid is jealous of Infinite Imaginarium. He still doesn't understand how Infinite Imaginarium is 4 times more popular than Satorid. It boggles my mind.
Fucking Imaginarium.
I know, those fucking posers.
If they only knew Satorid.
Yeah, those fucking watered down globalist sons of bitches.
There was a couple people posting artwork, and they joined like right after the Rogan interview. You know, that like brought them on board.
Yeah.
And like within a week, they had as many followers as I did, and I was like,
"Oh yeah,
5 months start on these motherfuckers."
But there's a whole, and this is, I don't know if there's any answer, real answer to this. But you know, there is a way that we are, a majority of people are conditioned to behave because social media and everything came before. And like I see these different people, and it's not really a judgment. It's just for my own curiosity of how, because I find it fleeting and empty at the end of the day of like, you know, posting of like, let me take a picture of my food and like, oh, I'm doing this today. And like, it's, I don't know. For me, it feels like junk food. Like a small portion, it's nice. But then at the end of the day, if you fucking eat through that whole bag of chips, you're just like, what the fuck did I just do to myself? Mm-hmm. And or the same thing with politics, whatever it is. And I'm just thinking, like, I don't know. This was my own curiosity. The difference between the poetry group of Minds and the poetry of Steam It. And it seemed to me that the Steam poets, which I had a fun enough time with them, but it was different. I did early on, I did the Dead Spoken Word mixtape, and started on Steam It, and I did it with them, and I was like all excited. Then I asked my Imaginarium friends and some people here on Minds, and I got submissions from them, and I just had so much more excitement and creativity with the Minds people than I did with them. And I was just thinking about it. I was like, it seems like they, for lack of a better word, like they write academic poetry, and here is like Minds is like they're just saying stuff, and it's kind of like accidental poetry. I know Frosted Rose, like even when she gave me the submission, it was more just like a rant than like. But I have such a broad view of poetry. Like even Minds, like I have a poem where I kind of make fun of. I rhyme, but I make fun of rhyming in it with a rhyme. Like I don't usually spit a rhyme. I don't forgot. I do something about like green eggs and ham or whatever, and I just find it funny because I don't like that doesn't even phase my head, and I know like yeah, as I do this more and think about it more. Like when I was kind of impressed with Brett's way of just structurally doing his poem. He has like these breaks, and then he's like really purposeful with the words he uses, and then like sometimes less is more. And I was just thinking, like, fuck, sometimes I'm just like ranting too much. But like for them, I don't know. They just seem like they were not writing a poem that they think the difference between when your teacher tells you to write a poem in this genre, or it's a class assignment and you write a poem, versus writing a poem because you fucking broke up with your girlfriend and you're about to go insane and you can't sleep, so you're just looking for some release, so you fucking just start scribbling and scrabbling on a fucking paper, and you do it for 23 papers, and you're just like, oh, okay, now I can go to sleep. And like that, there's a difference between like assignment, write a poem with a rhyme scheme of 2 and 3 or whatever, versus like I need to write this thing down because I'm gonna go fucking insane.
Yeah.
And it just seems like there's more people like to keep their sanity. They're trying to do something here than it is to like, oh, I'm gonna make a scheme for this is. Oh, I don't know.
I feel that way every day. Like if I don't spend 2 hours just working on something that tickles my curiosity, then I start to get anxious, and I feel like there's a weight in my veins that like is just like slowing me down. And if I can just spend an hour or two like playing with maybe images, drawings, video editing, then it's like, okay, I'm okay now. I'm fresh. I've reset.
Yeah, it's definitely like, I mean, it wasn't even until like maybe even 2-3 years ago that I would even declare. Now I don't mind saying it in a kind of funny way, but I would declare myself a poet. Like I literally, it was just a tool for me to use. That's why I don't have like really. I mean, I get better at it, but like a lot of my stuff is just like these fragments of writing down stuff, because like that's just how I process things. Like even when I read if there's like a line, like I did this even pre me being on social media, I'll read a book, and there's just something that glimmers to me, and I have to write it down, and then I probably won't even look at that ever again. But for some reason, it's just like I like this meme, this little essence of an idea, and I want to integrate it into my mind, and this is how I process it by physically writing on paper.
Yeah, I wrote down a few things while we were talking. Even I wrote Facebook equals Disneyland.
Yeah.
I wrote laying it down, which is something you were talking about, food preparation and plating, but the way so like you don't have to like make it something, you just lay it down, and the way it's laid down is where the beauty is.
And I think this is what you were kind of talking about, having a open paper with your scribbles, right? Versus like the dots. And you say, I'm a big proponent of an empty page.
Blankety blankness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like there you have to just lay it down. But I for me and Mac is where I guess we're not okay to like kind of like let it all hang out in that drawing sense, because I think for at least for my I kind of project on Mac is that I feel self-conscious because that's not like my strong suit. Like I look at like even I don't really draw that much, but when I do draw, it's like, oh my god, this is not good.
I feel that way about most drawings too. Like the stuff that I post is like the top 10% that I think is good. The rest of it goes in the fire, man. It's all kindling.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. And so like I see Mac, you know, like having those dots, and I was like, oh, that's a good idea to kind of.
No, I like seeing his work and how he's playing with those dots too, and using it to like explore.
But that's the process is such an interesting thing, and having this feedback, because when I saw you do your stuff and then you telling me, it is because I do like writing on paper, like that's what I do. Most of my writing is on physical paper. There's just like these scattered notes, and then later I construct it in post. But it generally always like I have fucking books and paper scattered all over my room right now, and it's always like this. But by being part of that group and seeing you do it and you talk about it, it's kind of a whole different thing of me doing it and getting more like it's another way of thinking, like not another way to think about it.
No, it's different.
Kind of what I was talking about, having what did they call it in that book? A simultaneous mode of consciousness or whatever, but thinking more holistically instead of like a linear line or a binary way, but as like this. Because if you're thinking about scribbling on the paper like the way you do it, even if it's not conscious, you have to be aware of the whole page. You know what I mean? Like when I write a poem or writing notes, it's like you stop at the top left corner and you go all the way down right there. And this is how it works, and this is why we have lines. But if you have a blank page, it's like, okay, maybe I have a focal point, but if this is like a circle, then how does this fit in? And then like it's just like kind of going with it. Don't get it stuck with your like binary thing, because like sometimes I think like that, especially like, okay, I start off thinking this way, but then I have to like move with it, but I'm not there yet, or I feel like too self-conscious to like let it just lay. I'm still in like fine dining plating mode.
Yeah.
Kind of let it lay more. Yeah, for sure. Oh man, but I was gonna mention as we wrap things up, we should try to. Just generally speaking, are Thursdays good for you? or like?
Yeah, at the moment, my schedule's been sort of like I've been getting all these weird odd jobs, so it changes a lot. But yeah, I think Thursdays is probably a good day to aim for.
Yeah, because I was thinking of maybe trying to set something up with, like even trying to get Bill and just like different people. Like Brett wrote something really cool and really interesting. He's like the secret behind the Minds token.
Yeah,
and I would like to like, I would like to talk to him and see what he sees, and just to like flesh out this idea more. And so maybe we have like this loose plan of like trying to get more people in, and we talk about, you know, art and stuff like that, but more like, what do you see with the token system? Like, what would you want? And just have fun with it.
Yeah, definitely. Cool.
Okay.
I think Bill's on that same page too.
All right. Cool. So I'll probably reach out to Brett, and maybe next week we try to do something with Brett. Then I'll have another try to reach out to Bill and see, because you know it might be, if Bill's kind of funny. Usually I catch him. He's like, "Oh, I'm free tomorrow." I'm like, "Oh shit." Let's do it tomorrow. Or sometimes it's like, "Oh, after the launch, I'll be free." So that's like next week. And I remember one time he's like, "Oh, I got a wedding, but after that I'll be fine." I'm like, "Okay." So it's like it could be tomorrow or it could be in a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Cool, man.
Okay. Cool. Have a good day.
Yeah. You too. Peace.